I dare anybody to name a more exciting horror game franchise than The House of the Dead. This is Sega's long-running franchise that has somehow gone beyond the light gun to become both a pinball game and a typing tutor. How many franchises can say that? With October upon us and everybody getting into the spooky spirit, I wondered what Electronic Gaming Monthly thought of the House of the Dead franchise. What was their favorite game? As it turns out, EGM only reviewed 5 House of the Dead games. 7 if you include the Sega games that featured levels based on the zombie shooter. So to add a little variety, I thought it might be fun to also toss a few Resident Evil games into the mix. Namely, the ones that either used a light gun or were supposed to. These are the 2 gun game franchises that promised monsters, mutants, and zombie mayhem, with mixed results. What we're going to do today is count down the best and worst House of the Dead and Resident Evil gun games using Electronic Gaming Monthly's own words and scores. There's no editorializing here, we're just going to focus on what the critics said back when these games first came out. Oh, I sure hope you brought some green herb, because this is what happens when EGM ranks the House of the Dead and Resident Evil gun games. Alright, we're gonna kick things off at number 10, Resident Evil Survivor on the PlayStation. The worst part about Resident Evil Survivor is that it could have actually been a good game. I mean, the idea is cool, a first-person shooter taking place in the Resident Evil universe. Sadly, though, the game doesn't live up to its potential. First of all, it looks like crap. Really. The zombies are pulled right out of Resident Evil 2, and everything gets horribly pixely at times. Then there's the gameplay. You can't strafe, the bullets fire out way too slow, and turning your character takes forever. The low price is great, but it doesn't make up for the fact that Survivor looks and plays like a first-generation PlayStation title. Resident Evil fans will likely be disappointed. Number 9, Resident Evil Dead Aim on the PlayStation 2. With all the advances in gameplay and technology we've seen over the years, you'd think that Capcom would be able to come up with a light gun game that involved more than just shooting the same 3 or 4 enemies through the same dull, repetitive environments for 3 hours. Dead Aim brings absolutely nothing new to the genre. Destructible environments? Nope. The ability to blow off zombies' limbs? Not here. Some puzzles or a 2-player mode at least? Bzzzt. The result? A game you really don't need to play. Number 8, Sega Superstars Tennis on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The Wii controls may mix things up, but after playing the 360 version, I can't get over the feeling that I'd rather be playing Virtua Tennis 3. The controls are indeed tighter in Virtua Tennis 3, the minigames are more entertaining, and the character upgrade system gives the game exponentially greater depth. I'm sure some players might enjoy the power-ups and the nostalgic tie-ins to the Sega classics, but I've found them pretty thin. Entertaining enough at first, but lacking any staying power. Kinda like the game as a whole. Number 7, The House of the Dead on the Saturn. I suppose that if you play this pitiful-looking port from 10 feet across the room and squint your eyes, it may look half as decent as the arcade game. The seemingly super low-res background textures are sometimes so bad that you can't even tell what you're looking at, while the monsters themselves look little better. Still, underneath all the ultra-blocky visuals lies a pretty decent gun game, and the new characters are a nice touch, too. Number 6, Sega Superstars on the PlayStation 2 iToy. No matter how I control it, I just can't get behind a collection of lame minigames. Superstars features 12 games based loosely on Sega's classics like Sonic and Knights. Some games accurately mimic the titles on which they're based. But the others, like the crazy taxi mini game in which you flail around and scream in order to hail a cab, don't even come close. Superstars is single player only, but it's obviously meant to be played with people not otherwise inclined to game. It's the kind of title you make your mom play to show her that not all video games involve stabbing hookers. Number 5, the Pinball of the Dead on the Game Boy Advance. At first, Pinball of the Dead seemed like a guaranteed slam dunk. 3 giant tables to choose from, each with plenty of chutes, holes, ramps, bosses, and bonuses. But soon you'll learn that it's more than a matter of the standard learning curve. This game's tough. Mastering stuff like nudging the board and juggling the ball, usually advanced techniques, are practically required to get anywhere here. And seasoned pinballers will be disappointed by the annoying sound effects, no real multi-ball, and the skill shots that take no skill. Number 4, Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles on the Wii. I find it just a little funny that Sega's classic light gun series House of the Dead has way more life than Umbrella Chronicles. Sure, it's great to take a gun-toting trip through the Resident Evil saga, but the actual creature killing lacks the ghastly whimsy of the House of the Dead games. Unloading oodles and oodles of bullets into the undead just wasn't as gratifying as I thought it'd be. Play with a buddy though, and it's way more fun. And easier. Some bosses in the game are unnecessarily difficult without having a companion by your side to help shoot down the frustration. Number 3, the House of the Dead 3 on the Xbox. Hospitality in House of the Dead is best served from the barrel of a light gun. Sega's gone whole hog with the extras, graphics, and animation. Beautifully ugly undead scum recoil when shot and twitch magnificently before they return to the great beyond. There's a good and varied crop of creeps to slaughter, but sadly, using the Xbox controller with its imprecise analog stick to blast the creeps is more of a chore than a pleasure. House of the Dead 3 truly demands to be played with a light gun. Without it, it's more lifeless than a mortician's jamboree. Number 2, the Typing of the Dead on the Dreamcast. This is why I love Sega. Who else would have the rocks to bring a title like this to these shores knowing that it likely won't make much money? Basically, this is a typing tutorial that plays out like House of the Dead 2. It's the same game, except for a few new challenges in each level, and some weird power-ups that simplify the required words or change the form of your on-screen counterpart. Somehow, though, I don't see parents buying this as a typing tutor for their children with all that carnage and horrific themes involved. Plus, the font makes it hard to discern a period from a comma. And finally, in number 1, the House of the Dead 2 on the Dreamcast. You shoot stuff and it explodes really messily. You shoot the right stuff and you can open up cool features. The acting may be appalling and the plot is pretty dubious, but House of the Dead 2 is a classic gun game. Try not to spoil it for yourself by being tempted by the crazy features on the guns though. Playing through with a shotgun with everything switched on auto will get you through it quickly, but it also makes it boring. Savor the experience as it was intended. Hey, thanks for watching us count down these classic reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we have a whole playlist with episodes just like this. We've covered other light gun games like Time Crisis and Virtua Cop, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, Final Fantasy, Burnout, Castlevania, Gran Turismo, Bloody Roar, and so many more franchises. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite House of the Dead game? Personally speaking, I gotta go with one of the newer Typing of the Dead games. Maybe it's just because I'm speedy on the keyboard, but I actually prefer that over shooting. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, expect the spookiness to continue all month long. We'll be back shortly with a frightening new episode of Review Crew. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.